All right, welcome to Megaton Multimensions, the super fast flip through a dish. I'm here with Don Simpson and Joe Corrales, and we're gonna
Hey,
take a quick run through this. I rolled my R, Joe. Was that all right?
that was beautiful.
Joe Carrales and his mustache.
15 women in Spain just got pregnant.
All right, I want to point something out about this cover. Multimensions, right in the middle of the word multimensions is the word time.
Ooh.
Ooh, time and space, brother. All right, Megaton Man Multimensions. So this is the cover. It's a team up crossover with 60 contributors, and you're going to meet some of them. Joe Carrales is on the line here. He's one of the foundational members. But all of these little circles are different artists. And look at this index. We've got Alan Davis. We've got Jim Rugg. We've got Bill Morrison on the left side. We've got a back cover by Brendan Frame and Brian Frame. 214 pages of cartoon goodness. Alan Davis recreating his
Look at that.
Excalibur cover using my characters.
Glorious.
And
Nice.
here's an explanation of multimensions in the middle of the word. Wow. Dr. Ugg is a character from X amount of comics.
He downloads his information from the McCloud.
That's correct. That's correct. It's very McCloudian. This last panel, there's all the different contributors doing their characters. Amanda Stella Powers doing the Peeper from an early issue of Megaton Man, giving an overview. The Cosmic Cue Ball is a Romana Clef. What is that called? A red herring. It's a
MacGuffin?
Objet
Deus Ex Machina.
It's a je ne sais quoi.
Yeah, a Deus. What is it?
Deus Ex
That's what it
Machina.
Molto fantastici.
Joey Lee Corrales, The Improbable Girl and Wonder Kitty, his comic, his collaboration with Terry Sue Wood.
Check out our other video for more about this comic. We go deep.
Yeah, we got a whole separate video talking to Joe. What do you have to say, Joe?
Read it. No, it's very nice. I tried to, again, blend the styles. Hopefully I accomplished it. People have to check it out to find out.
There are lots of cats. We love cats. All right. The Night Watchman with Chris Ecker. Chris and I talked about doing a team up 10 years ago, even before Giant Size 63 was an idea.
Or even the Big Bang, which we worked on.
Or even Big Bang.
It was amazing.
Those are two great classics. Me and Chris were talking, and it was going to be like a full comic book size team up, but we've condensed it into 5 or 6 type pages. Gramps Grizzly, the guy with the sunglasses, he's patterned after Chris. We got flying monkeys, got apes. This is all cats and apes. You can't go wrong. My character, Ms. Megaton Man, Kid Galahad, Auntie Kate, and the Night Watchman, as I mentioned before. Jim Rugg was one of the late people to join the project last November. This was all 2024. We were putting this together. 214 pages. Jim asked me at the last minute around Thanksgiving, he says, have you closed it off yet? And I said, well, Jim, if you'd have talked to me 20 minutes ago, but we snuck him in here, and he's doing his Megaton Anatomy lesson. Another Pittsburgher, Jared Catherine, Incrediman.
Yeah, with a perfect
Crime Fighters kayfabe.
Yeah.
Okay, so Incrediman hasn't been widely seen yet, but you're going to be seeing more. And this is a commentary on social media. This is the next Megaton Man, character from Bizarre Heroes. All right, then we have Milo Trent from Tehran on the left, an astounding artist and really crucial in Big Bang and Giant Size 63. Great stories in both of those publications from Cosmic Line Productions.
Thank you.
Amanda
and the
Stella
start
Powers.
of the love of Yarn Man that is throughout this book.
Oh
Yeah,
yes.
there's a lot of interpretations of Yarn Man. Amanda Stella Powers doing the death of Squeaky with the Golden Age, the original Golden Age Megaton Man. I think this story is hilarious. I ended up doing the lettering. Uh, this is a lost story, a lost episode from World War II, and I think it's hysterical. She did a beautiful job coloring it. You're going to be seeing more of Amanda, her graphic novel.
Look at those bombers there. That's just beautiful. And it's the bombs.
Let's show these Nazi robots we mean business with our fists. I love it. All right. Then we have Bob Gar Ornelas, California artist, who I found on DeviantArt a few years ago. This is just a beautiful piece. The Mysteries of the Phantom Jungle Girl. I did my own little strip on that theme. We have Isaac Fisher doing the Mega Babies, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name El Kiloton Nino de la Norteña. That's basically his child. He wrote his infant child. He lives down in Peru now. He's from Pittsburgh, but he's living down in Peru. So we're in truly transcontinental production. John Burkett doing Border Worlds, my Border Worlds, my science fiction saga. We kept this in monotone. These are some Mudbelly is one of the characters from Border Worlds, and there's a whole inner world inside the space station, and he took it in a very kind of an alien-esque direction.
Don, how did you decide on the order in which you wanted to put some of these stories? Was it random at some points?
It was never decided. I was just kind of stuck it in, and it looked good, and I did not. It wasn't like the cuts of the tracks on an album or something where you really sweat it over. I just thought, well, it just seemed to shape up the way it was. And Misi, this was one of the first pieces that came in, was Christian J. Misimo.
Oh, yeah.
And I encouraged him. I said, well, I don't want just a pinup. You got to give me a story. So he tied it in with his characters, the Turboverse, I think.
Yes, Turbo Hawk, now published by Cosmic Lion Productions.
Wow.
Go to your local comic shop. It is distributed via Diamond.
And he cranked this out. Like so in a week.
He is
in full color and everything. It went from it was that one page for like all year. I was looking at the pencils and I said, dude, when are you going to finish this? And he cranked it out like in a week.
He's so good.
All right. Then there's more of me. Captain Action meets Captain Megaton Man. I know Ed Cato from Ithacon, and he's one of the group of the consortium that owns the license for Captain Action. I grew up with these action figures. I would call them dolls, but action figures from the 60s. I had a Captain Action figure, and I have the concept of the toy, very briefly, is he would swap out costumes. He could be Spider-Man, he could be Superman, he could be Batman, but the comic book, he was only Captain Action. He couldn't be all these other characters because there were all these different rights holders. So I took that idea and I thought, well, I'm gonna
capitalize,
have Captain Action pretend to be Captain Megaton Man, and then I'm gonna have Megaton Man show up dressed as Captain Action. So it's a classic. All right, we have Milton Knight Jr. Steve Whistler is the writer. This is a callback to Splitting Image, my 2-issue series from 1992. Brat Lifeguard, and nice. The Blue Jean commercial that Brat Lifeguard created with Spike Lee. 601 inside joke. We're going to be hearing from some lawyers. Then we have Robert Kroll, noted Orson Welles. What were you going to say, Joe?
Oh, I was going to say, bring on the lawyers. No, but this here, I mean, you compare it to what we just seen before. People who get this book, the styles, the different offerings, it's just a feast for the eyes. People are going to love this.
This was written by Robert Kroll and illustrated by yours truly. This is a callback to my some of my characters from Bizarre Heroes, Pamela Jointly and MF Trombone, the cartoonist, and Harry Foster Lime, the president of the United States, who drops dead in the middle of the story. So this is an important milestone. This was a kind of a Hostess Twinkie parody ad on the left.
Be a bootleg tribute, or it wouldn't be a tribute without a hostess.
What's that?
It wouldn't be a tribute without a hostess ad.
Yeah. And then Steve Steglin on the right. He's a Charlotte, North Carolina alternative weekly cartoonist. He's in a newspaper down there. And he made, speaking of presidents, he made Bad Guy the President of the United States, which could never happen in real life.
Never in a million years.
Luckily, we have safeguards. Tom Stazer, who did a series called Spaced in the 80s, I prevailed upon him to, he's kind of semi-retired, but I prevailed upon him to do a crossover with Border Worlds. So there's two crossovers with Border Worlds, and his lip character, he did the coloring and everything. Wonderful job. And very happy how this turned out. And
we really got some cartoonists to come out of the woodwork to make this book.
Well, I'm pleased to have a balance of different characters, not just Megaton.
It's a cross section of what's going on in sequential art.
Agreed.
I mean, look here, we have Trish Ellis from Canada, as you said.
Yes, we do. And see more of her a little later in the story. We got Milo Trent. I loved his sketches, his preliminary sketches so much I put them on a page. Speaking of cartoonists that you will not have heard so much of, Casey Bouchard did this beautiful illustration. He prevailed upon me to create a new villain for the Megatropolis Quartet, which I did, Lady Iron. Then he didn't have time to draw the story, but he did that wonderful faux cover. So I penciled this, and I got Jason Moore to ink the adventure, and we introduced the Mod Puma, who is Ms. Megaton Man's mother from another dimension. It's all very convoluted. Then we have J.K. Carrier, who does Tyrannoman and Dr. Underground fighting Zis, a biblical vulture character with giant worms from outer space. And he's also done like tons of indie small press zine kind of comics, and we prevailed upon him to kind of come out of semi-retirement. Here we have Kate Workman, who did a beautiful job creating a crochet yarn man. This might be my favorite. I mean, it's between her and Milo and well, and who else? Steve Steglin did Yarn Man. Everybody did Yarn Man. Robert Krause did Yarn Man. But this
I even snuck it in as an Easter egg.
This is in the top 10.
Yarn Man. Is this in your collection?
You have one of these, don't you? You have
no,
one of
but
these. You're getting one?
I got to see this in real life a couple weekends ago. And it's like almost 18 inches tall. It's quite a piece of work. And Mocha the little dog, this is Amanda and Tom Powers. She did the photographs. And then we have, oh my God, Kurt Burdick, Death of Power. I saw him at a show. I think I saw him at Charlotte at Heroes, I think.
Yeah.
And I prevailed upon him to do a very Michelangelo-esque interpretation of Action Comics #1. He had this. He was going to do a 2-page comic strip, and one of the panels was this cover, and I just said, "Why don't you do that? Just do that." And he did such a beautiful job. The kids are falling out the back. I just love it. On the right is our Harry Potter satire again. Amanda Stella Powers, they did, and Tom Powers. Amanda's a big J.K. Rowling fan, or used to be until.
I think Harry Potter fan is the preferred nomenclature.
Yeah. Harry Potter fan, and not so much a J.K.
Potterhead, something like that.
Potterhead, maybe.
So we have the Giant of Hogweed, and this is filled with all kinds of Genesis jokes. If you know anything about the band Genesis, the Giant Hogweed is a track that they did, and there's all kinds of Peter Gabriel, Phil Collins jokes embedded in this story. John McCrae, I think he did X-Men stuff and so forth. I think anyway, he did this was an early piece that was submitted, and I threw on the logo Muscle Mentions Beach. On the right is Scott Lost. His character's the second shift team, and he did a team up with the X amount of comics characters. These were from 2023. These are my characters from the other 1963 annual faux satire,
and the other, of course, available at Cosmic.
The other one, the lesser of the two, and Irving the Living Cactus. And he did a team up with his characters Second Shift and Megaton Man. So then there's Kerry Callan on the right, and I'm convinced Kerry Callan only participated in this project because he used to work for Bill Morrison at Mad Magazine. But he took all my spidery characters, my wall crawler, roof runner characters, and put them into a story. So you've got the Slick, you've got the Black Bug, Wall Man, and he went back digging deep into the archives and found this public domain character, the Spider Queen, who had web shooters. So there's a historical, you learn something about the history of comics when you read Multimensions. Jeff Grogan, his character, Captain Daiquiri Jones, and he teams up his IP or intellectual property with the Asp and Dr. Messiah. This is very Ditko-esque kind of story. And Craig Olson is the mastermind of this project. He teamed up with Nick Justice, Micah Myers, Mark Dale. Raven Perez did some early concept drawings. This is basically your zombie Megaton Man story. What team up crossover anthology would be complete without a good zombie story and really saturated colors?
Yes, very much.
Zombies eating rubber brother tearing off zombie Megaton Man's arm.
Definitely to die for.
And Maury the Maple Leaf. He threw in my $1 million idea of Maury the Maple Leaf. This came out pretty cool.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And there's some kind of
the invulnerable Megaton Man, huh?
Kind of a dig at Bobby Kirkman, who I have no idea who that is. Alex Mui is a fellow I met. Again, I met him at Charlotte or Baltimore, and I asked him to do a 2-pager. He does his shifter school and medium, and he's doing the Son of Megaton Man, Simon, and he's calling back to some of my earlier comics because the Megaton Man and the See-Through Girl had a little love child, and that's Simon. Here's Trish Ellis. Trish Ellis illustrating Paul Nabisco and Gower Goose with Jerry Gander, all new character, and a political satire campaign. We did a long deep dive video with Trish talking about this story, and coloring by Amanda Stella Powers, doing the wallpaper and really incredible effects. John Workman on the left was the art director of Heavy Metal Magazine. He rejected me a couple of times in the early 80s when I was trying to break into the business. And but he agreed to do a Phantom Jungle Girl pinup. And he's also the father of Kate Workman, who did the Crochet Yarn Man. On the right is Grant Lankard, who has a series called The League of Cryptids, and he does a team up with the Meddler. So we've got the Meddler covered in this anthology. Cosmic Cat. I have a character called Cosmic Cat, and so does a fellow named Rick Lopez, who, well, you remember that meeting. We were sitting across the table eating
That was
dinner.
fun. Yeah, at Heroes Con after party.
And who was to my left?
Chris
Yeah,
Claremont.
Chris Claremont, who I thought for a moment was Marv Wolfman, but that's another story.
Oh.
All right, so then we have Robert Kroll. He's in Ohio, and I've been seeing him at conventions for the longest time, and he is one of the most industrious, creative people I know in comics. And he's been he in recent years he did Shakan the Forever Man, which is a video game and a comic book series, but he's been doing evil snowmen greeting cards and other merch with snowmen, good and evil. And so I prevailed upon him to do a Yarn Man story. So he's another one. I mean, this is again another of the top 10 Yarn Man interpretations in Multimensions. Take your pick. I went back into my sketchbooks. These are both from 1988. Excuse me. These are both from 1988. Larry Martyr, I used to see all the time at conventions. We were close, and he did his character Profi is riding the cosmic cue ball, which is even more timely today. The cosmic cue ball is really important in my narrative. And on the left, Steve Bissett, who had something to do with 1963. He did his interpretation of the Flug thing. So we've got Steve, we've got Michael T. Gilbert, another callback to the 80s. We've been talking about doing a team up forever. And so these are kind of two promotional pieces, two previews of what we're doing. I've got to sit down and write my script. I've got it all in my head. We're going to do a full-scale comic book next on the agenda. And a couple filler pages for me. And then on the right is Max Hauser's Alliance of Champions. He just sent me this comic book. So we're gonna have an add-on. You can get his Alliance of Champions with this cover. He doesn't have the story inside, it's just the cover, but this is the story. Megaton Lad, this is drawn by J.C. Grande with the Alliance of Champions, the trio here, and they put Megaton Lad through the paces to see if he's worthy of joining the team. They're set in the future. They're in the 25th century. It's kind of a Superboy Legion idea. And needless to say, Megaton Lad does not make the cut, but spoiler alert. And then on the left here is the Alliance of Champions cover with all the doctors. These are all my doctor characters: Dr. Software, Dr. Braindead, Dr. Messiah. All right, then we have Ted Sikora. He has a couple of characters. He's been publishing Apama, and Hero Tomorrow is the name of his imprint. He is a great letterer and writer, and he inks this piece and colors this piece. These are two of his characters, Regina and Violante the Undead. And I thought, well, we just need a Wizard of Oz nod here. So I put in Ms. Megaton Man and the Contraptoid and so forth. Milo Trent again on the right. This is Dan Shaheen script. He does a great, boy, Dan and Milo did a great story in Giant Size 63. It's really very good. Very Alan Moorish. So they're doing their take on the Meddler and the Phantom Jungle Girl. What were you going to say?
Just they're a very good team working together. I hope to see more of that team up.
And on the right here is the Fantastic Fanboys, Len Mihailovich. He's been publishing a long time, and he's collaborating with Phil Miller, who is a long time veteran of comics. Ted Sikora is doing the lettering here, and this is a convention that is taking place in my world with everybody's cosplaying my characters, which hasn't happened in real life. Paul Smith, whatever happened to that guy? He drew the X-Men for one of the major artists of the X-Men. He did this interpretation of Megaton Man, and in 2017, and he permitted me to reproduce it here in this volume. And speaking of Megaton Man, Joe Miller was one of my students at the Art Institute, and he's a 3D artist. He's written textbooks on 3D graphics, and he created a 3D Megaton Man. It looks like it's molded plastic, but this is all digital. And I stuck some photographs in the background, and we had a good time with it. Mr. Beat, Chris Yambar, the late Chris Yambar, passed away just a couple of years ago. His widow, Maureen, agreed to let us use his character, Mr. Beat, and George Broderick Jr., who is a collaborator with Chris, teams up Mr. Beat with the I think the fire-eating Pope, the platypus. I don't know all these characters, and the Megaton mice. And so Dr. Beat is conducting a drawing class, a figure drawing class. And George turned this around. This is another one of those like, hey, can you do this in like 5 days? And he did it in 4.5. So beautiful job. And here's a picture of Chris at the end. We have he has a couple scholarship funds in Youngstown that hopefully people will contribute. So Dr. Braindead, this is a villain from Megaton Man. This is my drawing. I got Jason Moore to ink. Jason wanted to ink my pencils on a couple stories in this project. Dr. Braindead is an important character. He was only in like 2 panels in Megaton Man number 8 back in the 80s, but he's become a very important character in the universe, and he's chasing the cosmic cube all around. Here's a pinup. We're double dipping. We ran this in Giant Size 63. This is Steve Bissett's 1963 characters. I had something to do with that series. I forget what it was, and then these are my parody versions on the left. From X amount of comics, and it's kind of a house ad as well as just a pinup. And on the right is a promotional poster that I created back in the 80s that was never used, that I've digitally remastered. So that's what I used to draw like, which is insane. We have a little tribute to the late Ed Pisker, who is dearly beloved. Real big impact in Pittsburgh, where I live. A lot of the indie cartoonists, well, everybody here in Pittsburgh has just been devastated, and I think far beyond the borders of Pittsburgh, the whole cartoonist kayfabe community out there. We have a little overview talking about the history of the Megaton Man team ups. Did you ever see any of these, Joe?
I'm saying,
have you ever seen any of these Image Comics team ups from the 90s? You can still find them.
I saw the Savage Dragon one years ago. Of course, I never ended up with them because I was a man of poor financial means. And
what about Forbidden Frankenstein down there on the lower right?
Oh, I see what you're yes,
we'll save that story for another time.
Yes, but it's a good story. It's a good story, let me tell you. Not now.
Here's a more updated team up with Eric Larson's Savage Dragon that I did. This ran on the back cover of one of his comics. On the right is this is just filler material. Here's some more filler. Oh, here is Scott. I'm sorry. Here's Matt Fizell's Cynical Man on the left. I asked him to do a half pager. I could have probably blown this up to 2 pages, but Matt does mini comics, so he's used to working small. He did a beautiful job with his crossover. Aaron McConnell does all kinds of illustrations. He's highly sought after, and he filled in a half page. More filler material on the right, some of my stuff. Bill McAvoy, you have to kind of turn your comic book sideways at this point to see these two. And then my pinup, which was on the back cover of X Amount, was very small and it was covered by a barcode. So I wanted to blow it up and put it into this project. And then some more Ms. Megaton Man. Nobody did a Ms. Megaton Man story except for Joe. Joe has Ms. Megaton Man as a character, but I kind of felt she was underrepresented, so I threw in some pieces. And this is full color, so I had these pieces already in color, so I'm taking up valuable real estate in the project. Then we get to see some process. Now, Eli's put together a book, a PDF that's going to show even more process, right?
Absolutely. And with the with one singular backing level, you'll get a hard copy in the Jim Rugg. This rug ties the room together tier.
Oh, wow.
For limited
Well,
printed.
Jim Rugg is very into process. He urged me to do a PDF of just showing the thumbnails, but this is going to be in the print version, showing some of the preliminaries that I got to see before artists did the full size. These are Milo Trent on the left and so forth, Aaron McConnell, and Scott Loss showing his process, and he actually wrote a text to explain how he developed his how he works with his staff. He works with colorists and so forth to get his comics together. And there's my dope sheet. This is my hard-hitting editorial, my scandalous. We get a full page of couple pages of credits. Joe, these are some of your major. Jose E. Carrales, CAP. What does that stand for?
Civil Air Patrol, the United States Air Force Auxiliary. Now, if you'll note, there's my Yarn Man contribution right there.
Oh, okay. So that's how many people
I got in on it.
The most represented, more than Megaton almost.
You know, I was gonna ask, maybe you'll fill it in, but what characters were you surprised made it in, and which ones did you feel should have made it in and didn't?
I was very happy with the balance. I was worried that it was going to be all Megaton Man. I got some the original Golden Age Megaton Man. I got the next Megaton Man. I got Ms. Megaton Man. I got all the Phantom Jungle Girls several times. So I'm kind of happy with the balance, Border Worlds and Yarn Man and Cosmic Cat. So there's plenty more for another one. These are the bios of the different personalities. An incredible who's who. I mean, I can't believe I saw this all come together, but I did. And these are some of the people involved. Dean Haspiel is down there in the lower left. He was the very last person to contribute. We'll see his piece coming up. Here's some house ads for Joe's stuff. But I wanted to give everybody a plug. I mean, there are some names that you've heard, and there are names that you've not heard. There's Eli's in here somewhere, and there's Eli and his cat. Right below Jim Rugg.
There you are. See?
I should have taken a picture with my cat. My cat's name is Fart. Well, actually, Smokey, but my daughter calls her Fart because it's supposedly the same thing. But hey, cats pay the bills around here.
It's a real who's who, and these are some of the text pages. Here's another Casey Bouchard pinup at the end.
Hey, there we go.
Some house ads.
Perfect.
For Cosmic Lion Productions and
Cosmic Cat.
Incubator Productions.
Yeah. And Isaac.
This is John Burkett's Feral Star and Madhouse and Lenovations. Ed Cato, Captain Action. And on the right, this hasn't been, I haven't finished the coloring yet, but this is the last piece that we got, which was from Dean Haspiel, his chest face. I'm going to shade that tomorrow, and that's That's the last collaboration. Some more house ads. Then we get a complete glossary. We go in depth on all who these characters are, so you can find out more about everybody who appears, not just my characters. And
Historians of the future will love this.
And Aaron McConnell does a double-page spread at the end. This is Casey Bouchard's piece without my wordy lettering over it, and here's the front cover without any dress. And here's the back cover. These guys are going to be superstars. This is Brendan and Brian Frame, who agreed to do the back cover. Did a great job. So that's the project. Anything else you want to say?
It looks amazing. I can't wait for everyone to see it and to get it out, and just know that we're offering it in soft cover and hardcover, and it's oversized, and it's going to be amazing. You guys are going to love it.
We're going to have all kinds of add-ons too. So
Yes.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.